Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it. Greetings, Algo artisans. Nick here, Tuesday, the 26th of May, and it's 6:40 p.m. EST. We're going to take a look at the trades coming up this week that I'm going to possibly take. We're going to start with the NASDAQ, then the Bitcoin chart, the Euro, the USDCAD, AUDUSD, gold, and silver. And I do have some possible trades lined up for those. Also, we have a gift for you. It's a free algo. Take a look in the description. There is a link. It's a quick video that shows you how I build a very basic algo, how I turn it into code using AI, Grok, Gemini, any of it really works, although I used Grok in this video. Now, this is the heart and soul of an agentic trading bot. These trading bots, they go and they trade for you when you're not at the computer. They need to be told what to do, and the heart and soul of that or any other trading plan is a good algo. And it even goes over some of the tools the traders use to connect their trading algo to the computer so it can do that trading for them when they're not sitting at the machine. They might be golfing, sleeping, whatever it might be. Also, remember that something like 60% of you don't subscribe, so please like and subscribe. We're going to start with the NASDAQ here, but before we do, let's go ahead and jump into the news data drops that are coming out this week, the ones that we know about. Now, there are some items that can come out that we don't know about. Last week was particularly brutal. Trump kept changing up things with one announcement one day, another announcement another day, all to do with Iran, all pushing price around in unexpected ways. And I lost some trades last week. I did a little bit better than break even. The guys and gals at Algo Factory got to see me do it. There was a Bitcoin trade that went ahead and put me basically just over break even last week. And there are weeks where you lose. There are months when you lose. As a trader, this is a probabilities game. But what we do is we continue to operate based on the data that we have at the time, and then we just take our lumps when the surprises happen. And the good news is when you're doing this properly, when you win bigger than when you lose, and you just win more often. So we use the data in the news that we're about to look at here at Forex Factory, and we take that information. We know when that data and that news is coming out, and we try not to trade directly before that. And then afterwards, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 15, depending on the event, we're able to ride that volatility into profits. So let's go to forexfactory.com. Now, it's going to be a short week. Obviously, yesterday was a holiday. Today, we had some Australian data come out. Later tonight at 10 p.m. EST, the New Zealand monetary policy data comes out. So if you trade the Kiwi, watch out. Wednesday, not a lot of news. Thursday morning, 8:30 a.m. EST, we have some inflation data coming out, the core PCE, as well as quarter-over-quarter GDP. So that can push the dollar around or any U.S. stock market affected asset or the bonds, all of it. Let's take a look at Friday at 4:20 a.m. We have Bank of England Governor Bailey speaks, and that is 4:20 a.m. EST, so that can affect anybody trading the pound or the FTSE. And then at 8:30 a.m. EST, some Canadian GDP comes out, which can affect anybody trading the loonie. And that's it for the news this week that we know about. Again, there can be some surprises and that can wreak havoc on trades. However, right after that happens, it does give us an opportunity to make that back with the resulting volatility, right? So let's go ahead and jump back into the charts. We'll take a look at the NASDAQ first. So you probably saw this a little bit ago. This is a NASDAQ trade that I see as a decent opportunity. The NASDAQ is simply bullish. Nothing's holding it back. Even the bad news last week wasn't able to hold it back. The NASDAQ, in my opinion, is being forced upwards. We've talked about this enough, so just look at the prior videos. I've got entire theories as to why the NASDAQ will be forced upwards. A lot of it has to do with the bond market. Other things have to do with politics. In the end, though, I see a trajectory that is upward. If I were to take a trade, it would look like what you see on the screen. Now, there is a bit of a lower bound here, very obvious. You can see it with this blue line, and that lower bound right here is 29,735. And I have a target up here of 30,727. I probably would exit a little below that, and entering this trade now is okay. There could be a slight pullback here, maybe to get a little bit better of an entry, might be a secondary entry to get in there. That's all very possible, but this looks like a nice clean trade with a stop roughly about 29,650 or so. And there's one bit of a fly in the ointment here that we have to watch out for, and it's this gap up on the open, okay? Now, this is a big gap, and these tend to get filled at some point. Price always could come down to this level and stop us out because these gaps tend to get filled over on the CME. Now, they might happen a long time later, might happen after profit is taken, but in the meantime, that is a possibility, and it's just something where if that did happen, I probably would look to re-enter that trade right about the time it happened. So just understand that that gap can get filled rather surprisingly. Maybe some bad news comes out about Iran, who knows, and it just grabs that and comes right back up. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Big one on Bitcoin last week. This moved down. We we actually took advantage of this. And I called it out like a day or two in advance, and that's great. And I think we're going to see this move down right here. And Bitcoin is really starting to lose its volatility. Ultimately, I do think it will head down, but for now, it is range bound, at least apparently range bound. We don't really have a true range yet. It needs a double bottom here, or at least two touches down here at 74,325 or so. And I think that's a decent place to look for a long. If price can make it down there, and if my rules say I can enter this, I would take this trade right here. Right now, it does depend on what happens down here, and I wouldn't just willy-nilly enter this. I would look to see what my algos said at the time, but I'd look to enter somewhere around 74,630 sometime after Bitcoin makes a little bit of a bounce up. Not right here on the spot, but a little bit of a bounce up and then head up. Now, I have algorithms that tell me when to do this, and we help people develop those algorithms as well. It's like literally what we do. AlgoFactory.tech. So link in the description, come check us out. In the meantime, there is that chance of a break downward or a break upward, and either of those have some structure that could keep price from going too far if that happens. There's not a lot of volatility. One of the structures on top is 79,500, and the one on the bottom is 73,330. Price could simply bounce at either one of those and reject, right? But the main path is what I've drawn with that trade. Now, if price does make its way back up somehow to 78,050 or so, which is the top of this many points where price has touched over the past couple weeks, that is a good short, in my opinion. Now, again, I would wait for the conditions to allow me to do this. I would wait for my algorithm to say, yes, you can take this trade, but that's just another nice trade to take. And then I'd be out of that trade before price got too close to that 74,325 that we talked about earlier, right about there. Let's take a look at EURUSD. Now, this one's tricky. There is a bit of bullishness on this one for the moment, but really it's a very choppy pair right now. Very choppy. So what I would do is I would consider going short right here. It's the bottom of this range. If I zoom out a bit, you can see the price has bounced at this area a number of times in recent history. Here, basically there. And also you have some very local structure that price probably also will obey. And if I zoom in, you can see that as well. And that is here and there. Good chance price will respect that. So as price comes up here, if the algos allow, I would consider taking a short, but probably on a lower time frame. So in order to see what this trade would look like, actually would need to zoom in a little bit tighter so you can see how that would go, because I would be looking to manage this trade pretty closely as there is a fair amount of bullishness in this whole thing. Okay. Now, if price does break above here, we might see a nice long trade, as I believe price is probably going to enter this greater range, this yellow box right there, with the top of that range being at about 118.04 and the bottom being at about 116.52. And I would look to take a long at that time. Now, where would I go with that? Probably no higher than 116.93 based on this price structure right here. And there's a little bit of trickiness right here with the top of this price structure right there where price had bounced. Price could reject there. So I would want price to make its way past that and have a successful breakout at that time. And it might be a trade that I take next week. Price would have to do this in a bit of a hurry for me to be interested in it this week, but it would look something like this. Okay. Something like that. But again, that's something that would require some very specific conditions for me to be interested in. And I might exit that over the weekend and look to retake it as the market opened the following week. Let's look at USDCAD. Now, this one's not got a lot of volatility, but what it does have is a lot of high-end bullishness. So right now, it appears that price is trapped in this range, with the range bottom being right here at 137.98 and the top being at 138.25. That's where the trapped area is. So the safe thing to do, as long as your algos allow you to, is longs at the bottom whenever that happens, taking profit near the top, and of course managing that trade all the way up. So perhaps taking off some profit halfway up the range, moving stop to entry. However you trade the range, you got to follow your rules, right? And then if we see another touch at the top, of course, we can take a short and head down. And I do think price will stay within that range, but of course it could break out. I'm just not counting on it. So these are the kind of trades I would look at for the USDCAD. Let's take a look at AUDUSD. Now, price may want to come down and grab that gap, just like we talked about with some of these other pairs. So that can happen. Depending on what this does, depending on what the algos say, I might take this short here, okay? But it's going to have to be a pretty pretty tight game because what we have is a bullish formation, and I would prefer to wait for the breakout or at least wait for longs on this, right? And let me show you why. I have to back out a little bit, and you'll notice that price keeps making higher lows, right? Here, 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 and here. So price probably will make higher lows and never make it down there. The only fly in the ointment on that theory is this gap right there where price might come down there and it might just become a new higher low, and this is not a low at all, and then price heads up from there. Would be a nice place to take a long if the algos say that's okay. The other plan would be to wait for a breakout to the top side and look to take a long to this next resistance. So what would that look like? I'll zoom in a bit, wait for the breakout to happen, use whatever rules I use on breakouts. If you're watching me, you know my rules, right? If you're watching these consistently, you'll know my rules. So I'm not going to go over them every single video. You're just going to have to tune in a little more often if you want to know what they are. But the trade would look something like this, where I would be out of the trade before 0.72073. And then the stop loss would be below this structure, maybe somewhere perhaps around 0.71803. Let's take a look at gold. Now, what I've noticed about metals is they pop up when you don't expect it. Now, the algos themselves do have a bit of a bearish tint on them. So there is a local sort of bottom here, a local support, and that's sitting at this blue line here around 44.77. And if price breaks below that, there's a decent bit of room to fall. Now, I don't know it's going to do that. There's a little bit of bullishness and not a lot of volatility. And again, I think price will probably kind of wiggle around in here. And I think a decent place to take a short might actually be right at this level where it rejected several times before. And that level is sitting at 45.80 or so. So if price makes its way up there, I probably would consider taking a short right about here. Now, the algos would have to give me the go ahead, if you know what I mean. And that will be what that is, right? Now, if price can make it above that 46.40, of course, then I'd be looking to take a long with the breakout rules. But right now, with the volatility and everything else, I just don't see that happening. But if that did happen, I would be out of the trade by 47.48, which is effectively this blue line right here, okay? Similar look on silver. I would look to possibly short this top. It's like literally the same game plan, just with a little bit more volatility. And I'd look to short around 79.03. So you can see this blue line right about here. I'd look to short that, and I probably would be out pretty quick because price has that sort of unexpected bullishness to it, right? However, price could make its way all the way down to here. So design your profits as you will. If you want to try to manage this all the way down and get a much bigger trade, you can. I would be very cautious with this because we're looking at not a lot of volatility. My theory is because we have the Bank of Japan data coming out here in a couple of weeks. And that is really going to be a landmine for markets as a whole. So this is what we do. We predict at Algo Factory where price is going to go when it's going to get there. And we use information and a scientific process to extract money from those moves on a regular basis. For people who have a job, they do it maybe a few times a week. For day traders, they could do it a few times a day. And this is a system that basically helps you tilt the odds in your favor, right? This is not a get rich quick thing. It's going to take some work, but I am very dedicated to your success. And if you want to get a taste of what we do, just go into the description. There's a link. You get to see me build an algo. It's a free algo. Now, you do have to optimize the algo before you trade it. You can't just plug and play it. And you can optimize it if you know what you're doing. And you get to see me turn it into code, and you get to see the tools that the traders use to connect it to their brokerage. So it can be a trading bot. And once you start to tilt the balance with AI, it becomes an agentic AI trading bot. If you use like an AI agent, you can even use AI to help you design it. And we know how to do all that stuff. I even have videos showing you how to do all that stuff. It's pretty awesome. And it's work. It's not as complex as you might think it is, but this does take work and study. So come on over to algofactory.tech. We'd love to have you. We'll be back on tomorrow live Wednesday, the 27th at 8:30 a.m. EST. And we will go through these charts again and any other chart you want to request. We do about 10 minutes live on YouTube for the public to see that we don't charge for. And then the following hour, the following 50 minutes or so, we answer questions for the private members. And I do take my trades during that time. Generally, trades are taken during the private session for only the paid members to see, but you may be able to see me take trades live on YouTube. It does happen, and it happens not uncommonly. So please come on in. Thanks for watching. Trade like a hedge fund pro. Come to algofactory.tech, and we'll see you soon.